Hello everyone. Today I bring to you a small video on how to draft indemnity clauses. I have seen a lot of people face confusion while drafting indemnity clauses. Now, indemnity clause is not a one size fits all approach clause, and you need to draft this keeping in view the context of the agreement and the obligations which both parties accrue. Now, the Indian Contract Act has defined indemnity under Section 124 of the Indian Contract Act. So, the Indian Contract Act says that if, for example, party A suffers a loss by the conduct of party B or by the conduct of a third party, then party B is going to indemnify or make good the loss which has been caused to party A by the conduct of party B or any third person. So therefore, the Indian Contract Act provides for indemnity from not only loss caused by the conduct of the promisor to the other party to the contract, but also by the conduct of any third person. In simple terms, if you want to understand indemnity, it is reimbursement for any loss which is caused. Now, when we sit down to draft an indemnity clause, so there are a lot of factors which we should keep in mind. First factor is that whether it's only the monetary loss that we need to compensate, or is it some other loss as well. Also, whether a liability also needs to be offset by this clause. So these are the things which you should keep in mind. Now, let us understand with the help of a factual example. Now, for example, I am a software licensor. I license my software to party B. Now, tomorrow, party C comes in the picture and says that no, this license does not belong to Soumya, but it belongs to me. So, and that party C then sues party B that you are unauthorizedly using my intellectual property. So in such cases, party B can invoke the indemnity clause and they can ask me to pay them compensation for infringement of a third party's intellectual property right. So therefore, now when I would be indemnifying them, they would want all kinds of losses covered, right? So they would want maybe the reputation, if there was any damage to their reputation because people were like, okay, these guys are using some other third party's intellectual property without even getting permission from them. So if there was a loss of reputation, if there is a loss of future profits, so there are a lot of other things that come into the picture when you are drafting an indemnity clause. So therefore, there are typically three kinds of wordings which are used in an indemnity clause, which is indemnify, defend, and hold harmless. So indemnify means that you would make good the loss. Defend means that I would be paying the court fees of party B. I would be paying the attorney fees of party B. So basically, I would be incurring all the expenses which party B incurs in defending themselves against the third party. Hold harmless means that I am not going to say that, okay, later on that you are liable for infringement of a third party, of intellectual property of a third party. So therefore, hold harmless means basically clearing of all the liabilities. So party one would be cleared of all the liabilities here. So therefore, you need to use all these three terms depending upon the kind of relief your client requires. So here, it's a holistic clause. So if you use all these three terms, then you are holistically protecting your client. If you only put indemnify or defend or hold harmless, then in such cases, the other party can come and say that, okay, I'm only going to give you the money. I am not going to bear your expenses. Or the third party would say, okay, even if you get compensated, the liability would be yours. So therefore, when drafting an indemnity clause, we need to see that it's a holistically drafted clause. Now, it says party one shall indemnify, defend, and hold harmless party two, its directors, employees, and agents. So again, directors, employees, and agents It means that it's not only the party to the contract, but also anyone else who may have incurred the liability because they were associated with the party. So therefore, it's not only your client you need to protect, but also its directors, employees, agents. If there are affiliates, then affiliates. So anyone and everybody who could have incurred this liability by the virtue of being associated with this party. So let us go back to the example where I have licensed something to party B, and party C has brought a claim against party B, saying that this software is their property. So in such cases, what if party B's employees were using this software and party C sues not the company but its employee and says that this person is unauthorizedly using my software? So what recourse would the employee have? So in such cases, if the indemnity clause is drafted in such a way that not only the company but also its directors, employees, agents, consultants, if there are affiliates, then affiliates, all of them are covered, then the indemnity clause will become holistic, and then the other party would be comprehensively protected. Now, from and against any and all claims, losses, and liabilities. So again, when you're drafting an indemnity clause, make sure to protect your client against any possible, action that may be taken. So against all claims, losses, and liabilities, including attorneys and consultants' fees and expenses. Now, the most important part here is that arising out of, involving, or in connection with. Now, these 4 points which are stated here are the grounds of indemnity. So, party 2 would be indemnified by party 1 if there are any claims which arise which say that party 1 has not followed the following obligations, such as first is non-compliance of applicable law. Now, second is infringement of any third party's intellectual property right. Third is bodily injury. Fourth is unauthorized disclosure of personal information. So now these grounds of indemnity or heads of indemnity, these need to be drafted keeping in view the obligations which are there. And they cannot be a one size fits all approach or a straitjacketed approach. So for example, if you are drafting a services agreement and your client is sharing personal data to the service provider, and then the service provider is using this personal data and creating, for example, an app. Now, in such cases, you need to include the point D, which is unauthorized disclosure of personal information. Because what if the service provider unauthorizedly discloses personal information and your client gets a suit in that name? Then, in such cases, your client should have the contractual ability to sue the service provider and get indemnity from them. So, whenever you are drafting an indemnity clause, you should always know what are the obligations which are outlined, and you should draft your grounds or heads of indemnity in context of such obligations. Now, for example, if there's a housekeeping agreement and the person there's a housekeeping staff which comes to your company and provides housekeeping services, what if that housekeeping staff leaves an electricity wire open, your employee trips over it and he dies, for example, or he gets injured? So in such cases, if the employee sues you, then you should have the ability to ask the housekeeping contractor to reimburse you or to indemnify you. So again, now the same head of indemnity, which is bodily injury, cannot arise in a case where people are not coming to your premises. So therefore, you need to be very careful about what are the various grounds of indemnity you include. It should always be in context of the obligations given in the agreement. And you cannot copy paste an indemnity clause from somewhere, because the heads of indemnity in some other contract would be different from what should be there in your own contract. Now, an indemnity clause could either be one-sided or mutual. So typically, again, this depends upon obligations. Now, for example, if a service provider is building an app for me, all I am doing is paying him the money and the service provider is developing an app for me. In such cases, why should I be the one who's paying indemnity? It should be the service provider, because it's the service provider who is incurring all the obligations. So in such cases, if, for example, if you are representing the client in such cases, then you should draft a one-sided indemnity clause. If you are representing the service provider, then draft a mutual indemnity clause and see whether the client pushes back on it or not. So therefore, if you, whenever you are drafting an indemnity clause for your client, first of all, see what are the obligations on your client. And if you think that your client should indemnify the other party, then draft a mutual indemnity clause. If you think your client doesn't have any obligations except payment and they should not have any indemnity obligation, then draft a one-sided indemnity clause. So for example, if only party one is receiving confidential information and only party one has the obligation to keep this information confidential, in such cases, if you draft a mutual indemnity clause saying that both parties would indemnify each other for disclosure of confidential information, then that would be incorrect and you would face a pushback from the other party saying that we do not have any obligation. So why is this indemnity obligation being imposed on us? So therefore, when you are drafting an indemnity obligation, make sure that it is in the context of the agreement. Go through the agreement, read the obligations, and then draft an indemnity clause. Now, indemnity and limitation of liability. So this carve out of indemnity from limitation of liability is something which a lot of people face issues with. So let me tell you, it is not very difficult to understand. So it is something where it is like an exception. So a limitation of liability clause typically says that I would be liable only for this much amount of money. So for example, if a limitation of liability clause says that the party one would only be liable for to the extent of the value of the contract. Now, indemnity is an obligation where you can actually claim for a number of things. You can claim for loss of reputation. You can claim for any action which is taken against you. You can claim for loss of liability. You can claim for monetary claims. So there are a lot of things which are involved in an indemnity clause. For example, if there is an unauthorized disclosure of personal data, so now the kind of risks the company would incur would be unprecedented. So you must have heard a lot of companies being ordered to pay millions of dollars for breach of data privacy, right? So in such cases, if you make indemnity subject to limitation of liability, then the indemnity clause becomes futile. So therefore, in order to prevent that, a carve out of indemnity from limitation of liability is typically suggested. So before you begin your limitation of liability clause, you should typically add this language saying, accept indemnity obligations as outlined under this agreement. And then you can move on and you can say that neither party shall incur any liability more than value of the agreement or something of that sort. But if you are carving out indemnity, then the indemnity obligations would not get limited. And then an unlimited risk accrues. So if it's a one-sided indemnity clause and you are carving out indemnity obligations, then the party on whom the indemnity obligations rest is going to push back to remove this carve out. So then this gives rise to negotiations. So you need to draft your clause accordingly and keeping in mind that why you are carving out indemnity under this agreement. So for example, if you are the client who is receiving indemnity from the other party, in that case, you would not want the indemnity to be limited. So therefore, you would remove it or accept it or carve it out from limitation of liability. If it's a mutual indemnity, then maybe depending upon the assessment of the risk, then you can actually you can include indemnity obligations in the limitation of liability. So therefore, carving out is nothing, but it is just an exception to limitation of liability. So indemnity is typically made an exception to limitation of liability, especially when there is a one-sided indemnity clause. I hope you've understood the concept of indemnity and how to draft an indemnity clause. If you have any doubts, you can feel free to leave your comments below, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Thank you. Have a nice day. Stay safe. And please remember to mask up. Thank you.